everybody, Joel Palmer here, Vintage Fitness, down here in the cavern. Gonna share some ideas with you about shoulder rehab. I know, another shoulder video, but shoulder pain is really common, plagues a lot of us, myself included. If you follow me, you know I've had my own shoulder injuries and I've thrown all kinds of stuff out there to try and help people overcome their shoulder injuries. Well, today I'm going to share a few other things with you. What I share today is a great foundational program. You could do this and nothing else. And if you've got rotator cuff strain or rotator cuff tendonitis or biceps tendonitis, any of those kind of shoulder issues, this will help you. All right. The difference here is we're not really isolating individual muscles. We are doing exercises that are more global, meaning we're incorporating more complex maneuvers. In the beginning, when you first are injured, sometimes it is necessary to break things down into individual components. So we work on just a teres minor muscle or just a supraspinatus muscle. As you get better, we need to now move from acute rehab to, well, basically functional fitness. We need to be able to function normally again. And in the real world, we don't do things in an individual, broken down way. We do things more all-encompassing. So the shoulder has to work in, all those muscles have to work in concert with each other. Okay, so I'm going to show you some exercises that will help you do that. Keep in mind, most people have shoulder injuries. We tend to see, a very regular distortion. And what we see typically is shoulders tend to roll too far forward this way. Maybe the arms rotate a little bit too much this way. Okay, part of that is because the world kind of puts us in that position. The world tends to put more demand on the front of us than it does on the back of us. Most of us don't work here, we work here. Typing on a computer, hunched over our phones, texting, writing on a desk, driving, right? Working at a countertop, okay? So we tend to get sort of this way. So what we need to do is counteract that. Otherwise, what happens is the shoulder is a ball and socket joint. It moves in all kinds of directions, very complex. But what we don't want is we don't want that humerus to slide too far forward and rotate in so far that now it starts pulling and stretching on the rotator cuff and pinching up structures in the front of the shoulder. So what we want to try to do are things that are going to pull us back, open up the front more, pull the humerus back into the posterior back part of the socket, right? And take pressure off of that stuff in the front and strengthen all the stuff that comes off the backside and wraps around. All right, so I'm going to show you 4 exercises, 4 simple exercises, but I'm going to show it to you in 2 ways. One using some sort of suspension unit, rings, TRX, Lifeline's Jungle Gym, whatever. The other option will be using bands, rubber bands, okay, exercise bands. So I'm going to use rings today here, but whatever suspension unit you may have will work. If you don't have a suspension unit, don't worry. I'm going to show you the band options, and the band options are great, okay? So without further ado, let me get myself set up. We'll meet back here, and I will start out with the ring options, okay? So check back in just a second. Okay, gang, so here we are. We're going to start out using rings here first. If you don't have rings, if you have a TRX, or like I said, a Jungle Gym or some other suspension unit, go ahead, you can use that instead. That will be sufficient. Let's start with the ring exercises, and then I'll show you how you do these using bands. So the first thing we're going to use is, and a lot of these exercises you may recognize. I'm just going to show you how to kind of put them together and why I like them. I use this for my own shoulder rehab. I've had my own shoulder injuries, and I use this a lot for my own shoulder work to maintain good mobility, stability, constantly trying to strengthen that rotator cuff and offset the effects of everyday life. So here we go. First one is called a face pull. Keep in mind that what you're doing is you are actually sort of pulling the rings towards your face. I like to pull basically towards my forehead, okay? The beautiful thing about the rings, or the TRX, is that you can change the resistance simply by changing your body position. The more upright you are, the less resistance there is. So the easier the exercise. The more laid out you are, the harder it now gets. Okay, so depending on where your shoulder is and how much pain you're in, and how much dysfunction you have, you may have to lighten the load or increase the load. So that's up to you. You figure out where your sweet spot is. So I'm going to show you here the face pull. First thing is here, keep your body sort of planked out. We're going to stay rigid, keeping that core engaged. I'm actually kind of squeezing my butt cheeks tight to keep myself straight. We start out here, starting position. Finished position is rings. Come towards the forehead, elbows flare out. So we want the elbows, instead of here, right? We want the elbows up and out here, okay? Pulling towards the forehead. I like to spot something. I'll spot something up on a beam just to kind of keep my eyes in the proper location. Helps keep my body in a good position. And face pulls again here. The key, if you look at the straps of the rings, try not to let them get to that position, right? We want to try to keep tension on the strapping. So you may have to slow it down. If you start going too fast, you get sort of that kind of a thing. So you want to keep the weight on it, tension on the straps, eyes up, body tight like a plank, pull towards your face. That's the name, face pulls. Okay? That's exercise 1. 3 sets of 10. 3 sets of 10. Okay? Next exercise, using my little cheat sheet here. Reverse flies or pull aparts 3 ways. Depends on how you want to look at it. Some people will call them reverse flies. Some people will call them pull aparts. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do it in a 3-way pattern. 3-way. So you got to hit all 3 for 1 rep. All 3 for 1 rep. Again, we're planked out. Same principle. Keep the tension on the lines. And the first way is straight reverse fly. Squeeze the shoulder blades tight. Eyes up. Back to neutral. Now, angle it. Back to neutral. So the starting position. Now angle the other way. That's 1 rep. So here it goes all together. 3-way pull aparts. I pivot on my feet. See on my feet, I'm just using my feet are like a pivot point. So we're just pivoting over the feet. Okay. Again, if you need more resistance, you get a little more laid out. Now there's more body weight on you, on your rings. Becomes a little tougher. Okay. You figure out what angle is best for you. I will give you a hint. Rotator cuff, a lot of these posterior shoulder muscles are not super strong or super bulky. So a lot of times you need less resistance than you think, especially if you're knocking out higher end reps. So again, with this one, 3 sets of 10. 3 sets of 10. All right, next exercise. Next exercise, overhead sweep. Overhead sweep. Okay, again, principle is always the same. We start here. Keep tension on the line. We finish with hands overhead, squeezing the shoulder blades on the back side. Back down. Overhead sweep. Okay? 3 sets of 10. 3 sets of 10. That's your 3rd exercise. 4th exercise. Last one, really. We're going to do a high row into external rotation. So just so you can see we're gonna do, basically the high row is you row high here. So elbows are up, pull the rings or the handles of your TRX towards your shoulders, high row, and then we're gonna just externally rotate in that position and return, okay? So high row, this one is a tougher one. Okay, now we're getting a little more rotation in that shoulder joint. So lighten your load to start with until you get used to it, okay? So here, so it's high row, pull towards your shoulders, elbows out, externally rotate, back. High row, externally rotate, here. When you do the external rotation, so you should finish sort of in this position, right? So you're not locking it out, you're just high row here, externally rotate, okay? So again, that's 1 rep. You can see it's tougher than, this is tougher than you may think. There's 2 reps, especially if you've got shoulder issues, okay? Those are the 4 exercises I would do on the rings or TRX, jungle gym, whatever you have, okay, your suspension unit. 3 sets of 10 for each one. Now, all right, gang, here we are. I'm gonna show you how to do all those exercises I just showed you using bands. If you don't have rings or a suspension unit, you can do all these banded. If you do have rings or suspension unit, sometimes it's fun just to mix it up. I will do both versions on just different days. So we'll mix it up so that some days I'm doing bands, some days I'm doing the rings. Sometimes I will mix the exercises. I might do banded face pulls, but 3-way pull aparts on the rings. So it just to give you variety. So this will give you some choices. And if you are stuck at home, this is a good way to do this. Cheap, simple therapy work right here. So first one, face pulls. Let's go to face pulls. So again, elbows are going to come out. You're going to drive the band towards your forehead. I've got it here set up on a hook, so about chest high. All right, I'm going to show you another version in a second, but you can do it this way. And so here you are again. You're going to stand tall, squeeze your core, and now you're just pulling the band toward your forehead. Again, eyes are up. Don't look down here, okay? Bad posture. Eyes up. Banded pull here. Just towards that forehead. Elbows drive. So the elbows drive and the shoulder blades pinch on the back side. Again, 3 sets of 10, okay? So this gives you one distinct feel. Another distinct feel is if we change it and move the band to a low position. So if we take that same band and pull it down low, it gives you another, just a different dynamic. So you can actually tinker with this and see which one works best for you. You may find one is easier than the other. And here we go. Now the band is anchored down low. And now I'm sort of pulling up and back at the same time, face pull it, okay? Bang. Keeping the tension on the band. So 2 things with the band. Try not to let it slack here, right? There's always tension on it. And the other thing is don't let the band snap you back. Always control it, okay? So we're here. When we return, right? We return under control. Don't let it just snap me forward, okay? Again, 3 sets of 10. 3 sets of 10. I'm gonna come over here and just turn that just a hair. Just a hair. Okay, let's go on to the next exercise. So those were the face pulls. Let's do the 3-way band pull apart. Okay, so for that one, 3-way band pull apart. So before, you know, we did it with the rings. Here, you're going to use your band. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. If your shoulder is feeling healthy and strong, you can double up the band. If you need a little less resistance, go single. Just a single strand. Okay, so let me show you how that works. Band pull aparts. We're doing it 3 ways. Again, stand nice and tall, right? Pull apart 1 way, pull apart 2 ways, pull apart 3 ways. That's 1 rep, all right? If you're just using a single strand, you need a little less resistance right here. Pull apart 1 way, pull apart 2 ways, pull apart 3 ways. The idea is to squeeze on the back side. That's the big thing. Okay, so from the back, what you'll see is squeeze the shoulder blades. I stand tall, squeeze my butt, okay? 1 way. 2 ways. 3 ways. Squeezing. This is what we're after. We're after that squeeze, okay? So you can see on the back side, we squeeze. On the front side, we open up. So we're trying to open up that chest. Okay? So, band pull aparts. 3-way. Next one, overhead sweep. So with the overhead sweep, we will need it in the low position. So I'm going to just clip on my carabiner here. Okay? And now just simple overhead sweeps. Okay? So from here, we now just pull up overhead. Overhead. I'm going to show you a little trick here. Sometimes, for a lot of people, if there's shoulder problems, getting that arm up overhead can be difficult. And from here, sometimes the band is actually almost a little too difficult to manage. So you might have to drop your center of gravity. So the easiest thing is to sit here, and now you can do your overhead sweeps here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's how you count them out. 3 sets of 10. Again, we're going to stick with that 3 sets of 10. And remember, as you get stronger, the idea is to try to get those hands as best. You want to try to get them back, right? Back. It's nice to try to get your hands so it's at least sort of over your ear. Okay, so in the beginning, this is where a lot of people will struggle getting it that far back. Don't worry about it. Go to where you can go. Stick to whatever range of motion you can handle at that point in time. As you get stronger, hopefully you'll see that your range of motion gets better and better. Okay? 3-way band pull aparts and overhead sweeps, face pulls. Last one is the high row into external rotation. Okay? High row into external rotation. Again, you can do it from the low position. It's harder. This is a harder position to do it from. But we'll go high row, external rotation. High row, external rotation. If that's too hard, move it to that center position. You can put it in the center position. It's a little bit easier, okay? It's a little bit easier. So for a starting point, that might be a little easier. So again, high row, external rotate. Do it in 2 movements. Slow it down, do it in 2 movements. Sometimes people get going, and they're, throwing their body around, and that doesn't help you, okay? Slow and controlled, high row, lock it in, externally rotate, return, okay? Break it down, all right? Those are your 4 exercises. You're really working on trying to fix a bad shoulder. You probably really need to hit these drills 3 times a week. And I would say give yourself a minimum 90 days. 90 days. I know it sounds like a lot, but every ounce of research out there says it takes at least 90 days to cement change. To not just make a little change, but to make change become more habitual. It takes at least 90 days. Honestly, if you've got old shoulder injuries, you really probably should be doing some of this indefinitely, forever, because shoulders are that complex. If you slack off, they'll start to break down again. So just get to it, give it a good 90 days of real dedicated work. And then after that, hopefully you start to see some positive change. You can maybe tail it down a little bit and move into a little bit more of a maintenance situation. Okay, a couple other little side tips. Go to my YouTube channel or go to YouTube and in the search bar, type in VFSV, Victor, Frank, Stephen, Victor, VFSV, band station. On there is a little tutorial, a short tutorial on how to create a band station. So worth checking out, worth setting up a simple little station in your workout space that you can just go through quickly. And you see how I moved my band from a mid position to a low position. The video will show you a mid position, a low position, a high position. The other thing is bands. Where do I get bands? You can find bands all over the place. If you just go to Amazon and type in exercise bands, you'll come up with all kinds of things. I find that if you're searching on Amazon, the best term to actually use for these is pull-up assist bands. A bunch of stuff comes up. These, couple that I have here, they're different sizes, different resistances. They come color-coded. These are just basic Amazon bands, and they're perfectly fine. They work great. This is their own brand. Last I looked, some of the colors were out of stock. The other one I like a lot is Wad Fitter bands, and you can find them on Amazon. They're not terribly expensive. Wad Fitter, that's W-O-D, William Oliver David, W-O-D, Wad Fitter pull-up assist bands. If you search for that, you'll come up with theirs. They're a good brand as well. I use them. Another brand would be Body Sport. They're another brand. All these things you can find right on Amazon. So if you just type in the brand Body Sport pull-up assist bands, they'll come up. They all have their own sort of color coding. They're not universal. Typically, red is a light to medium. Okay, I think Wad Fitters, their lightest one is an orange. On there, most of them will put in parentheses poundage. So for instance, a red band typically represents anywhere from 10 to about 35 pounds of resistance. What I would say for the stuff we just did, you want light and medium. You don't need anything beyond that. Most of these exercises, you're going to want to stick to light and medium, especially if you have currently a case of shoulder pain. You want to start light. You're really looking just to get the reps in. You can easily move up to medium. And then eventually, if that feels like you're doing really well, and then you can get something a little heavier. But for these exercises, light to medium, you're not going to want to start out with anything too heavy. Again, these are not big, bulky muscles. They are sort of scrawny little things, but they're really valuable, and you need to take care of them. Okay, so that's my little lecture on bands. You can find bands all over the place. There's all kinds of people that make bands, but if you just go to Amazon, you can find a perfectly suitable set of bands for pretty cheap. They're, anywhere from about, $8 to $15 a band, depending on the size. So they're pretty affordable. All right. I'm going to show you one more little bonus exercise. Stay tuned. Let me set up. I'll show you how that works. Okay, folks, bonus material. This is just a simple stretching exercise. So, oftentimes, shoulder pain, and I have been victim of this myself. The bicep tendon runs through a little groove here in the front of your shoulder. Obviously, most people know the bicep as an arm flexor, right? But in the shoulder, it also acts as a shoulder flexor. So to raise your arm, to reach for something in a cupboard or catch a ball overhead, whatever, the bicep tendon functions for that. again, what happens is oftentimes the humerus slides too far forward in the glenoid fossa, in the socket part of the shoulder, right? And as that slides forward, what's in front here? The bicep tendon. And the bicep tendon gets pinched and, you know, gets grinded on. So it's, and then as you try to raise your arm, it gets caught in there and does not feel good. So what we want to do is try to open this up a little bit, maybe break up any scar tissue or adhesions that might be forming in there. So I'm going to show you a simple bicep tendon stretch. Here's what I like to do. If you're doing this workout already, I like to use the rings. And very simply, we take the ring, we hold it, palm down, and then all I do is walk out so that my arm is behind me and lean my body into it a little bit. You can even rotate a little bit, okay? And just hang out there. I like to try to give myself 30 seconds, and then I'll switch, go to the other hand, again, palm down, right? Walk it out, stay upright, walk it out, maybe rotate slightly, okay? Give it another 30 seconds, and I will do that 2 or 3 times, just one right after the other. I actually do just set my timer, my gym boss. I put it on a 30-second repeat. Every time it beeps, I switch to the other hand. I'll do that 2, 3, sometimes 4 times in a row, and then I'm done, okay? So that's a good way to sort of stretch out that bicep tendon, open up this tissue a little bit, break up some adhesions. Again, go slow, okay? Go to your tolerance. If you got a lot of adhesions in there, a lot of inflammation in there, you may only be, you know, sometimes it's hard just to get your arm back here at all. So you're just going to what you can tolerate. Don't force the issue. Hang out for 30 seconds, switch, hang out for 30 on the other, and you can just go back and forth. And as you feel more and more flexible, you can go further out. Once that gets pretty easy, oddly enough, try it double-handed. It gets a little tougher, okay? That's actually even a little harder, okay? So you can do it that way as well, but I suggest you do that once the single arm feels comfortable. So there you go. All right, gang, hope this all helps you out. Throw this into your shoulder mix, your rehab mix. Listen, if you've got bad shoulders, be patient. The shoulders are really complicated. It takes a long time. I wish there was a quick fix. I have never found one, and I'm a fellow shoulder pain sufferer. But it takes a lot of dedication, and it takes a lot of just, you know, good old-fashioned hard work. Stay at it. It doesn't have to be long work. You can be short, sweet, and to the point, but it's got to be consistent. Keep at it. Keep working hard. Add this into your other workouts. Stay fit. Remember, life is heavy. Train for life. Check back. In the future, I'll have some other things posted to help you out with other issues. All right? Joel Palmer, Vintage Fitness, down here in the cavern. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.